Hey guys, Ezra here and welcome back to another review, and today we're going to be reviewing The Bad Guys 2. This is a sequel to The Bad Guys releasing way back in 2022, and it was based on The Bad Guys books by Aaron Blabey, and the sequel is directed by the returning director Pierre Perifal, and also the screenplay by Ethan Cohen also came back from the first movie, and a lot of the cast member also returned to this movie, and yeah, I'm pretty hyped to see the Bad Guys too, because I love the first movie. I think it was like really fun. And for the second movie, I would say this movie is bigger. It does expand the universe. And overall, I think I'm having a really fun time with this movie. But of course, it's not perfect. There is some problems in this movie, but for the most part, I think it's pretty good. So we're gonna get to the positive first, and then I'm gonna get to the why this movie is not perfect. So for the positive part of this movie, I would say the action sequence. Like I came to see this movie for the big action sequence because there's like the elements they've been teasing in the trailer. You see like the spacecraft, action sequence, and you barely see anything because the third act is pretty long, and took place in space, which is just like the most insane action sequence I've ever seen. And I love how they use the audio in space, because in space there is no sound, and they're actually using that sound design in the space sequence, and I was like, wow, that was impressive and kind of scary, because it's space, there's nothing there. So they kind of play some horror parts of the characters there because they have to float through space to do something. I'm not going to spoil what it is, but it is an amazing sequence. And the animation as well, I think it does hold up, and I think from what I can tell, apparently this movie has two different housework for the animation. One of them is obviously DreamWorks animation, and apparently they use like 50% of their asset to build the production, and then Sony Pictures Imageworks apparently produced the other 50%. So it's a 50-50 split in the middle. And okay, there's like, I don't know, I did not expect to see that behind the scenes stuff, but people are having that conversation I think a long time ago, which I was kind of fell behind on that, but I was surprised to see that it was produced by, I guess like it was animated by two different studios, but I think for the most part the work is done by DreamWorks. But besides that, I still think the animation is still holds up to the first movie. It still looks exactly the same, and I would say even better, in some cases, like Pierre Perifal, the director's definitely stepping up his game this time around. This movie felt way bigger and feels like a really big summer action blockbuster movie, and it is absolutely fun, mixed with the music by Daniel Pemberton, who also scored the Spider-Verse movie. The music is absolutely amazing. It does elevate the scene a lot. um it kind of gives me some similar vibes with Mission Impossible, in a way where some big action sequence happen, and then you have like the score in the background just to elevate the scene even more, and that's how I felt watching this movie. The action sequences are amazing, the animations are amazing, and then the music just completely complements that a lot, so I absolutely love it. And I would say I love the bad guys here. Of course, you see them in the first movie, they already have the characters development, and so in this movie, thankfully, they don't exactly redoing or like undoing the characters development. Like they stays the same, they stays pretty consistent, and I know they turn bad in this movie again, but there is actually a good reason why the bad guys has to do bad guys stuff again. Like it's not like they just do it because like, oh, we love doing bad guys, actually, fuck being the good guys. Like, no, it's not the case like that, but rather it's like there's a good reason why they have to turn bad. And I think that's great. And the chemistries, as always, are absolutely amazing. I think this time around, I think all the members are stood up, or I guess like standing up in the movie, because in the first movie, the only two characters that really stand up for me is actually Wolf and Snake, because those two has like the most character development, I think, and the rest of the character, they're fine, they're fun, but I feel like they don't get to do much in the first movie. And in the second movie, you actually get a lot of screen time with all the groups of characters together this time around because they all completely agree that, hey, like we're gonna be the good guys and we're gonna be supporting each other. So you're gonna get a lot more of them in the second movie, and it is amazing. You also get the returning characters like Diane Foxington. I think she has her own mission in the movie that still matters, that's still important, but I feel like she was safe from, she basically have her own mission compared to the bad guys, because the bad guys is working with a new characters called the bad girls, and then you see Diane Foxington, the Crimson Paw, doing her own stuff, which still important, but I feel like I kind of wish there's a bit more of them. But I do think that the action sequence with Diane are pretty fun to watch. And of course, speaking of the bad girls, we have the new characters here. Is absolutely amazing. The design is amazing. The voice actors is amazing. So we got Kitty Cat, Doom Susan, and Pigtail Petrova. So like these three are the bad girls, and I love their design. I love their roles in the storyline. I think their reasoning, I guess, makes sense, because they are somewhat inspired by the bad guys. But I think Kitty Cat has a much more personal reason compared to the other two bad girls plan. And I think it creates this interesting dynamic between the bad girls and the bad guys. If you guys see in the trailer, you see Doom or Susan, which is like a raven, and he is actually Snake's love interest. And it was pretty funny to see the chemistry between the two of them, because I was like, oh, okay, these two actually has a good chemistry. And it was actually really funny because they kind of like going back and forth with their relationship, where it's like, oh, like Susan is betraying Snake, but deep down she still love him, and it was really, really fun to see that happens in the movie. And it just culminates to that ending of the movie itself, which I think is really, really good. And also, speaking of like romantic relationship, they actually develop Mr. Wolf and Diane Foxington relationship in this movie, and they even go further, in the romantic part of it, and I absolutely love it. I think people who ship Wolf and Diane in the first movie, you guys will be happy, including myself. Like I think these two in the first movie are completely built up to be a couple, and yeah, that's exactly what happened in this movie. You show, this movie basically furthering their characters' development, and I absolutely love it. I wish we see more of them, but the small screen time that we got between Wolf and Diane is actually like great, because they have great chemistry on those scenes, and it was like absolutely amazing to build up to this final scene in the movie. And yeah, so good characters. The chemistry is good. The new characters, the bad girls, are amazing. The action sequences are amazing. The animations are good, and the music is also really, really good. But I said before, this movie is not exactly perfect, and the reason is because, again, Diana Foxington character Crimson Paul doesn't have a lot of screen time in this movie, like because he was doing her own mission compared to the bad guys, and I kind of wish that we get to see the bad guys and Diane Foxington. I want to see Diane Foxington joining the bad guys, and that never happened until the very end of the movie. So I was like, I'm kind of disappointed on that part. Even though, like I said before, the plot point with her are actually pretty important, because she actually met the returning characters, the returning villain from the first movie, and they actually did something interesting with Marmalade this time around. At least in the mid-credit scenes, I think. So again, if the credit scenes start, then don't leave your theaters yet, because there's some mid-credit scene with Marmalade that I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what they were doing in these characters, and then that's where I decided to read the Wikipedia page of the Bad Guys book, because in the Wikipedia page they have like a characters like description from all the books, and there's actually a revelation for Marmalade's characters in that book right there. And I was like, oh, okay, this is actually the director rather using the source material and try to adapt them into the movie, because again, this movie was based on the book, and there is some stuff that they have to change around, which I get it, but it still pretty much follows the same path of the book, at least with when I read the characters like description in Wikipedia, because there's a lot of lists of them. So like this universe of the bad guys are absolutely huge, and there is so many more characters that they could introduce in the future of the franchise, which I cannot wait for that. So they are doing the basically using Marmalade's character to basically fit the source material, which I think, okay, that's cool. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with them in the futures, but yeah, besides all that smart, I guess, like, speaking with Crimson Paul again, despite the fact that she doesn't have much screen time, it's also the fact that I feel there's not enough consequences, the fact that Diane was actually the Crimson Paw. Because if you see the bad guys, like, they get their comeuppance, they go to jail. In the second movie, they start their life completely miserable because, like, nobody's trusting the bad guys, which makes sense. But I think with Diane, even though they are self-aware that, hey, like, I basically get off scot-free because nobody knows I was the Crimson Paw. So I thought they're going to do something interesting with that movie, and the movie is kind of like teasing that in a way, but I feel like the execution is not enough, because they kind of like gloss that over. It's like, yeah, this happened to Diane, okay, but there is no consequences of her action. I kind of wish there's a bit more hard-hitting moment for Diane's character, because for the most part, Diane's characters in this movie are a badass Crimson Point, a badass character, which is fine. I love her for that, but I kind of wish there is a bit more heart to her characters. Like she's a badass. I love them, but I think the bad guys has a lot of heart. In the first movie that actually really care where they're trying to become the good guys, and Diane did it first, but she got away scot free. And I'm like, well, I wish there's a bit more consequences in the second movie. I thought they're going to explore that, and the movie is actually teasing to explore that, but they actually like, I don't know, they just kind of like glossed that over, and it's like, man, come on, like the bad guy suffers, and I feel like Diane deserved to like have some consequences for being the Crimson Paw, but nothing came out of it, sadly. Like again, it's just just a very quick mention, and then that's it, So I was kind of disappointed by that aspect. The directors Pierre Perifel actually talk about the sequel 2 months before the release of The Bad Guys 2 in June 2025, where he said that like he and GP Sans, I think, they both said that they're already planning a third film. So this is 2 months before the movie release. So okay, we're definitely getting the third movie. If this movie actually perform well at the box office, because I'm really hoping that it makes more money compared to the first one, because the first one make 250 million, I think. So I'm hoping this movie will make more than the box office for the first movie, just to show that the fandom are actually growing and people actually came back to see more of the bad guys, because I absolutely love how this movie ended, and I was like, man, this is a great sequel tease, and I cannot wait to see the Bad Guys 3, because the Bad Guys 3 could be similar to a Mission Impossible film. Like, I absolutely love Mission Impossible, so I think it would be really cool, to get the animated version of that, with the bad guys, because the action sequence here are over the top. I mean, they go to space on the second movie, so I think it's a good decision to make that like a very over the top action sequence and plan from the bad girls here, because I think, again, if they try to make it like too grounded, then I think it will be too boring for me. So I'm really glad they actually tried to make this movie completely bombastic, crazy. They're going to space, they're doing this crazy stuff in space, which is really cool. And I'm wanting to see what's gonna be the big set pieces in the third movie, because I don't think they can top the space sequence. I was so mind blowing watching that space sequences in the theaters. It was absolutely well animated, and it feels grand and big. So I absolutely love that. So I'm glad that the directors and the team doesn't hold back with the animation and the action sequence. They actually make them bigger and better this time around, and I absolutely love them for that. So yeah, I love the Bad Guys too. I cannot wait to see the Bad Guys 3. Hopefully this movie is successful enough in the box office. I'm hoping it makes more money than the first movie. And yeah, there is some criticism with the Crimson Paw character, which I'm hoping in the sequel they could like maybe make her the main focus, because the bad guys already have their development in the first movie. So again, if you guys are looking for the development for the bad guys in the second movie, you don't get that much, because their development is already done in the first movie. This one, you just see more bad guys with the chemistry and the action sequence. That's what I came for. That's what you get in this movie. But with the Crimson Paw, there is so much more potential that you could explore with her character. So I'm really hoping that in the third movie they put more focus on her characters and develop that even further. But either way, guys, that's my review for the Bad Guys 2. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think about this movie right here? What is your favorite action sequence, and what are your expectations for the third movie? So let me know all your opinions in the comment section below. And if you guys enjoyed this review, then make sure to guys stall that subscribe and like button, and share the videos to show stuff, and stay tuned for more movie reviews in the future. And again, hope you guys enjoy this review, and I will see you guys in the next one then. Bye.